Hi there, welcome to Tarotland Soap Opera. Today I'm going to do a reading for Cancer energy, and we're using 3 of the Intuit decks off their Etsy shop. And like usual on this channel, we're going to do 2 rows. The top row I refer to as high vibe Cancer energy. The bottom row, a more worldly, shadowy Cancer energy. We all have free will and we have to make decisions in our life. And some people could be battling within themselves. They might want to move forward in life a little differently. But the bottom row can represent our comfort zone, our fears, our insecurities about doing life differently. If we were to do life differently, or maybe it would affect some of the things that we do in our life and the people we hang out with, or if we stay at a job or not, right? And if it doesn't affect those things, it's just fear of maybe loving and believing in ourselves. So everybody does tap into Cancer energy, and the truth is some people, they're not struggling within themselves. Some people do have hope and faith and belief and love. They're aligned with their more hopeful, believing nature. There's going to be other people in the world, that's not their truth. They are more aligned with loving themselves, loving the world, not really wanting to maybe be in more deep, meaningful relationships. Might use their emotions more manipulatively, and they think that's just and fair, and it's not really about being more authentic and loving with people. And we need to see the truth of that. So it's just to, if you are someone who has hope and faith and belief and love, if you know some people who don't, just to see the truth of it, get out of your ego about it. Everybody has free will. People have the free will choice not to do love, not be inspired by it, to be inspired by other things. And some people are just selfish and self-centered and egotistical, and it has to be all about them. And if it's not going to be all about them, they don't want to be in a relationship with you. So, listen to your intuition about where you might be in the story. Well, I'm kind of really curious about the top row. So the reason for the top row's reading is illusions. So the illusions can be, it's kind of reminding me of Scorpio and Pisces energy, the other 2 emotional water sign energies, where we can get caught up in the illusion of the world. We grow up in the world, and the reason for the bottom row's reading is discernment, which shows the scales of justice there. We grow up in the world, and the world tells us you should make your life about these things. And if you make your life about those things, or go indulge in those things, or have those things, you'll be happy. And then we can go indulge in those things, or make our life about those things. And then maybe in a lot of ways it might seem just and fair by worldly standards, but we could kind of feel like we did get caught up in the illusion. And that maybe of someone else, we could have viewed them as a more just and fair and loving family person, and maybe that's just kind of how they present themselves in the world, but that's not really the truth of who they are, and we did get kind of caught up in the illusion of them. Another way this could be interpreted is some people have illusions about what it means to be in a relationship, and what they think is just and fair is different than what you think is just and fair, right? So in the top row, we have projections, sharing, study, and victimhood. Well, the victimhood card, of course, makes me think of how people can want, and we all probably have done it at times, where we blame everyone else for our problems and why things didn't work out the way we wanted. And, it's kind of like God wants us to get justice in the world. And to be more, high vibe energy is being more independent, believing in yourself, believing in your dreams, believing in what is possible, even when you can't see it in your reality. It all starts in our imagination, and that's kind of what Pisces energy talks about. And there's some people, here we have these cards, and then this person has their back to the victimhood. And the victimhood is a little girl, and the feminine figures in tarot can talk about how we think and feel. We can have people in our life, whether they're male or female, that they do think it's just and fair for other people to work together with them in a relationship and keep giving to them, but yet they want to keep playing the victim. Or poor, poor, pitiful me, or you put in the work and effort, but I shouldn't have to put in the work and effort. I think that's just and fair. And it's like, well, I don't think that's just and fair. So I think the projections card kind of, because it makes a person think of looking at old movies, right? We'll all repeat old patterns because we grow up in families, in communities, in states, in countries, in certain periods of time. You know, some people grew up in the 1960s, the 1980s, the 2000s, whatever. And life was different at all those different time periods, right? And then we grew up with our parents who probably grew up in an era of 20 to 30 to 40 years prior to the time period we're growing up in, right? And they have their ways of viewing life and what they think is just and fair. And then, hopefully, to the best of their ability, they try to instill values within us based on how they view life, but they're kind of caught up in the culture, maybe, and ways of viewing life of what they grew up with. And hopefully there's some really good building blocks there to take with us. But the sharing card is kind of like the Six of Cups. You know, we can keep repeating a lot of those patterns because that's how we grew up, and that's what we thought was just and fair, and that's how we viewed ourselves, it's how we viewed the world, it's how we viewed relationships. But then, you know, we're living our own life, and we're coming into contact with all these different people in the world to try to help us get more clear about what our truth is. And that can kind of be the study card there, where I could have known people who lived their life a certain way. It could have worked out for them. It could have been a good relationship or a bad relationship. It doesn't really matter. But I just have seen all these different people in the world, and they're making their choices about what's aligned with their truth and what they find enjoyable, and based on maybe what their long-term goals are, and if they want more deep, meaningful relationships, or if they're more comfortable being in more maybe superficial and shallow relationships. You know, they might have their own victimhood, which can just represent past pain, heartbreak, fear, insecurities that maybe they didn't work through. And so, you know, that made them make certain decisions in their life and act the way they acted. And high vibe people want to break free of the illusion and getting caught up in these things of the world and making those things so important in their life, and letting their fear and their insecurity and their past pain and heartbreak and all those things, to see the truth of it, to come to a place of peace about it, to reconcile yourself with it. I've known these different people in my life. They were acting and reacting and living their life based on their attitudes and their perspectives and their life experiences. Do I wish some of them would have been more just and fair, authentic, loving, warm, encouraging? Yes, some of them could have been, some of them weren't. And it's just coming to a place of peace about it is what the sharing and kind of the Six of Cups can talk about. And when we kind of make peace with it, we can kind of more look back. And instead of focusing, because we've made peace with some of the hurtful moments, then instead we can choose to focus more on the loving and encouraging. And there too, why did we focus more on the shadowy aspects? Probably because we could have felt it affected us and our life, but ultimately we have to take responsibility. You know, again, well, I could act this way and I could act that way and I could have fear of this and I could have fear of that because of these things that happened in my life. But if I am willing to get to the truth of it, listen to my intuition based on the lessons I've learned in life, so that I can come to a place of peace about it, that everybody lives their life the way it is. They're going to reap the consequences for their choices. I don't want to repeat some of those patterns, and some of those people, their truth wasn't my truth. And I need to get clear about what my truth is. And then I think it's our shadow energy is always there. And other people in the world who are in shadowy energy want us to be more in shadowy energy. Our shadow nature wants to be in the driver's seat of our life. And we always have to kind of make a conscious effort to emotionally kind of turn our back on our more immature, prideful, egotistical, I want what I want and I want it now, kind of short-term gratification, instead of looking at things from the big picture and kind of more keeping in balance within ourselves, staying focused on truth and love and what can be. If there's people in your life who you feel, whether they're brothers, sisters, adult children, parents, friends, romantic interests, potential romantic people, but they haven't done this work within themselves, they might want to keep moving forward with you in a workplace, friendship, or relationship, but they want you to keep kind of staying in denial, is what the illusion card can be, of the fact that they are kind of immature or bossy or controlling, or blame everyone else, don't want to take responsibility for their actions, something. I think you're not paying attention to people like that in the world. And sometimes those people really want your attention. It's kind of like people kind of having a temper tantrum. Doing things purposely to... These cards here kind of make me think of a person being at peace. And some other people don't like that, because they don't understand, like, if they're trying to manipulate you or control you, that's shadowy energy, they don't understand why them trying to manipulate and control you isn't working. And some people, if those people are in their life, they're like, you do what you want to do. If you want to go do this or go do that, where before you might have put a lot of work and effort into trying to being more reactive to what other people did, like trying to help them work through their fears and insecurities, or just if they did something that was kind of more trying to push your buttons. It's like, I don't want to play like immature games anymore, and I can get mad, I can do whatever, and I just don't want... I choose not to get caught up in it anymore. And it's kind of like letting other people do what they want to do. And then some people can really get mad because you used to react. You used to, I did this and then you did that. And then if I said this, you said that. And then if I did this, you did that. And it was people who aren't being loving, truthful, just, fair. But that could be part of their way of operating in the world in order to try to get what they want. And some people are like, I'm not doing that anymore. And I maybe have done some work within myself, or read some books, or watched some movies, or something, that if you want to do that, you do that. But then I'm just seeing the truth of who you choose to be, and I'm seeing the truth of who I choose to be. We have different ideas of what we think is just and fair. And then there's definitely people who don't like it because you're more focused on maybe what you're trying to manifest, instead of being more caught up in making them the center of your universe. And again, some people like to be the center of people's world. They are the center of their world, and they think other people should make them the center of their world, and they think they're the boss of your life, and they should be able to control your life. And when they're not, able by what they do to disrupt your life, they don't like it. So let's go look at the bottom row. We have a card not showing itself, and it's the parents card. Then we have the belonging, laziness, conformity, and building. So in our more worldly focused nature, which could have kind of been all of us for 30, 40 years of our life, we haven't learned to be a good parent to ourselves. We haven't learned to temper our own fears and insecurities, and we can go get in relationships with people to be in a relationship with us, not as inspired to put in work and effort to reconcile ourselves with things of the past because we didn't even maybe realize how it was affecting us, So I'm kind of thinking of it as kind of going with the flow, We have all these lessons to learn in life. We don't even realize that we're supposed to kind of put in this work and effort. But by going along kind of more with the world itself, just by living in the world and meeting all these different people, it will challenge us to decide if we're going to make our life more about conforming to the world. And when we kind of feel, shadowy energy can feel like we feel like people aren't being loving and nurturing and supportive. And we could have thought people would be more loving and encouraging and supportive. And if we're a loving and encouraging person, we think other people will be loving and encouraging. But for some people, that's not their truth. They have free will to decide what aspect of themselves they're going to align with. And some people have aligned with being more about themselves, not wanting to put in work and effort, not interested maybe in doing the work to grow and heal and mature themselves, make their life more about conforming to the world. I'll just follow the crowd, and if the world says I should act like this and dress like this and this is what's valuable and important, I'll do that because I want to fit in with the world. And it can just be ego, image, status, just conforming to the world and more caught up in the world. And their long-term goal could be more of having what by the world seems just and fair. Maybe having a certain status or image in the world. And then if they look like they have justice in the world, then maybe other people would be willing to work together with them. And sometimes those people think, if I put in work and effort to look a certain way or have a certain physique or have a certain social status or have a certain amount of money or power or influence in the world, some people can put a lot of work and effort into those things to look like they have a certain image or status in the world, with the hope that then other people will want to work together with them. And those people maybe would be the people who put a lot more work and effort into making the relationship more stable and grounded and balanced and loving. And because they have more of these worldly things in some way, then they think other people should put in more of the work and effort to make the relationship work. And they could just view that's kind of like a balanced relationship. If I have these things or I look a certain way or whatever, other people should want to be in a relationship with me and they should want to put in this work and effort. And that can be some people, needless, who are kind of full of themselves and a little egotistical and but that would be someone who kind of wants to be indulged in a relationship. And then when people don't indulge them in being immature or bossy or controlling or egotistical or more focused on making their life about these things of the world than working cooperatively with people from love, the people in their life are upset. And everybody can kind of be upset that, But the whole thing is, we kind of could have been looking for people to love us, but we really hadn't learned to love ourselves. And that's when the high vibe people don't want to stay in workplaces, friendships, or relationships like this, and they want the justice. They're kind of in their ego because they wanted things to work out the way they wanted. And we can blame other people, but the truth is we can't change other people. We can work together with other people. We can be loving and encouraging and supportive. But if they're not motivated to heal or grow or mature themselves and put in that work and effort to get more balance within themselves, and they like a more imbalanced type relationship, kind of like where, no, I like to be the parent, and they could have been hiding. I like to play like the parent role in people's life, and I like you to be sad and fearful and not love and believe in yourself and believe in your dreams. And then you work together with me, because if you work together with me, you think you will get this justice in the world. And that's how I view relationships, and I think that's just and fair. Well, we initially can kind of get in a more imbalanced relationship because of how we grew up and how we view relationships. Like, oh no, I am the more loving, nurturing person. I am supposed to put more work and effort, and they maybe are supposed to put more work and effort into the stability and the security. But then again, sometimes then those people think that it's kind of like, I'm the boss and you're the employee. And I'm the parent and you're like a child. And you should be more codependent on me. And then as we kind of repeat that pattern, it's like, is this my truth? Is this how I want to keep moving forward? And then they put in work and effort to think about what they think is just and fair. And they could reflect on the past and how they've kind of maybe repeated this pattern where, again, we can get in relationships with people, and high vibe people can think everybody would choose love, and some people aren't motivated by love. We think everybody would be inspired to put work and effort to detach, and they're more immature, impulsive, or reckless, or illusions about what it means to be in relationships, or whatever, or they're being full of themselves to put in work and effort. And we've probably all been in relationships with people, they kept staying exactly who they were. And the truth sets us free. But we can want to stay in denial of the truth. Oh, no. I'm sure they'll change. Oh, no. I'm sure they'll grow up. Oh, no. I'm sure they'll become more responsible. Oh, no. And we can keep doing that all we want and stay frustrated. Or we realize, I kind of have a pattern of doing this, and why do I do this? What is it within me? Why do I get in relationships with people who maybe aren't very loving and nurturing even to themselves, where they encourage themselves to heal and grow and mature themselves? We can all indulge ourselves in our more immature worldly nature. We can all choose to not live our more authentic life and make our life about conforming to the world. No, you have to do this, and no, you have to do that. But I don't want to do that. Me neither, but we do it. You're supposed to do that. That's so people view you a certain way. It's like, what about me living my authentic life, and I'm not being hurtful or unkind or scandalous or anything. I just want to go live my more authentic life, treat other people the way I like to be treated, be in more just and fair and balanced relationships, and I don't want to live a life of illusion and do things I don't really want to do, or act certain ways, or talk to certain people, or dress certain ways, all to maintain this certain illusion in the world. And for some people, that's how they live their whole life. And then they're equally confused at you not making your life about those things. It's just like, and then they thought, because this is what they view as just as fair, they thought you would think it was just and fair, and then they're upset that you're not living your life the way they think is just and fair and aligned with their truth. It's like, well, my truth is different than your truth. And sometimes we just kind of realize that, we could have had a lot of things in common. There could have been a lot of things we enjoyed. We could have connected in a lot of different ways that was kind of beneficial for both of us. But the truth is kind of what drives and motivates us, and what we more want to invest our time, energy into emotionally. And maybe even if one person wants to be in more deep, meaningful relationships, another person doesn't. If one person has kind of healed from some of their codependent energy or fears or insecurities or past pain and heartbreak, and the other person hasn't, the one person is ready to move forward in life differently, and the other person still isn't. And everybody can be hurt, and everybody can kind of be upset. But I do think the loving people offer the people in their life love and encouragement to move forward with them. But if your truth is you're either don't want to put in work and effort, don't want to work through things that manipulate you, don't want to deal with the truth of some issues, like a more codependent relationship, are more about your ego or your image than just living your more authentic life, and that's not my truth, I wish you peace. Go do your life with people who are more on the same page as you. And I'm going to go do my life with people who might be more on the same page as me. And some of the people in our life, we work through all of this together. And sometimes we're kind of ready to move forward a little bit differently. They're kind of not ready to move forward in life a little differently. And with a lot of people in our life, that's fine. You go do you, I'll go do me. It's more challenging, say, if it's like a close friend or a family member or a romantic interest that you hope that they kind of were kind of motivated and inspired to still put in work and effort into the dream. And then they're maybe not. And it's like, well, I'm not going to be the only one putting in work and effort. If you don't want to put in that work and effort, then you can do what you want to go do, and I'm going to go do what I want to go do. So what's coming up? This also, sometimes when, we had to make choices in life, and we could have choose to get in with this friend and hang out more with them than that friend. We could have dated this person versus that person. And sometimes and I think we're drawn and attracted to certain people because they're the people that unkind of beknownst to us, maybe because of things kind of buried in our subconscious, and maybe we had some similarities from childhood and ways of looking at life, similar backgrounds or something, that it kind of helps us deal with some of those issues again that we didn't even realize we kind of needed to deal with. But because of some of these similar issues, we could have gotten along in a lot of ways, but also we could have realized, oh wow, I am repeating a pattern, and you could even remind me of like my mom or my dad, and I didn't realize that at first. But as because sometimes we can be drawn and attracted to people who subconsciously kind of remind us of people that we had been in relationships with, and we didn't feel like we got the justice. So it's kind of something in our egoic nature that still manipulates us. And in order to kind of free ourselves from it, we'd either just have to do this work within ourselves, or we will be kind of drawn and attracted, I think, to get in a relationship with someone who could kind of remind us of those people so that we can kind of work through that issue. And part of the issue is coming to terms with the fact that it doesn't have anything to do with my worth and value. Everybody is who they are, and if I would like people to be more just and fair or loving or nurturing, I have to accept the fact that some people will never be that type of person because of their own issues. And so I can get out of that ego nature of it, and I kind of come to a place of peace about it. But then, like our own shadow nature and other people who wanted us to be in more shadowy energy and still have those issues, because then we'd still be in friendships and relationships with them, they're mad because we worked through it. And they didn't work through theirs, and they might not plan to work through theirs, and they wanted you to not work through theirs, because then you'd still be in friendships or relationship and repeating this old pattern, and they were okay with it. But you kind of found it limiting and restricting, like you weren't living your more authentic life, and it could just be it was too much about making your life more about conforming to the world than living your more authentic life. And the other people, some of the other people in your life could have other people in their life that kind of control and manipulate them, or their own inner dialogue, or their ego, or their fear. Maybe are like have a bad internal inner voice. Well, until they decide to put in work and effort to work through that and kind of stand up and be more loving and nurturing to themselves, that's going to keep manipulating them. And then it impacts how they interact with other people. And it's kind of like if they have kind of like a shadowy inner voice, well, eventually that shadowy inner voice kind of wants to come out and why are you happy and whatever. I got this awful inner voice, and that awful inner voice is going to kind of come out to try to get you to be in that energy too. Why am I the only victim here? And it's like, wait a minute, you need to resolve that within yourself, because that's not okay. But since they let it go on within their own head, they definitely think it's not fair that you don't have that going on in your head. And then they want you to be in that energy and kind of caught up in the same things that kind of torment and manipulate them. And you're like, nope, I'm not doing it. We have the free will to temper our ego, temper our fears, work through our issues of the past, to treat people in a more just and fair and authentic, loving way. And there we can look at the projections as happy memories. And again, when you get out of one situation, it could make you think about some of the people in your life that were more aligned with your hopeful, believing, loving nature, but because you could have had some of these issues going on in your life, you could have aligned with some other people, and then you might communicate with some other people kind of how you view life differently than you did before, and you've worked through some of your own issues and kind of got more balance within yourself and detached from an old way of living life, and wondering if some of those people would want to reconnect, and some of those people will, some of those people won't, and some of those people will be upset because they'd like to, but they feel they can't. So, what's going to come up for people who harness some high vibe Cancer energy? Just accepting the truth. Everybody is where they're at. I'm not going to stay. I don't control things, believing that all things happen for my good benefit if I am willing to look at it from that perspective. What were the lessons I was to learn? It probably forced me to do a lot of this inner work within myself to get more balanced and to work through my own fears and reconcile myself with issues of my past. And my own shadow nature is going to try to stop me from giving birth to something new, because shadow energy represented by the devil doesn't want us to give birth to something new. And high vibe energy represented by God does want us to give birth to something new. But we have to believe and not let our more fearful, insecure, codependent, whatever nature stop us from staying focused on what can be. The Two of Swords. Why? Because of the King of Swords. Two cards of Libra energy, kind of like the discernment card here. In the King of Swords, you took action to want to get to the truth and to get more balance within yourself. I don't want to. I want to take responsibility for my life. I don't want other people dictating my life. I don't want my self-protective. Sometimes I view the King of Swords as can be a person's self-defensive, self-protective nature. Like, no, you can't go out there and play in the world. You could get hurt. And it's like, no, maybe I did do that before. Maybe I was caught up in the world. I had my own ways of viewing life at different stages in my life. It was just and fair for me to be at those different stages of life and view life the way I did because that was my emotional maturity level at those times. But it doesn't mean I have to stay there. And just like all the other stages of my life, I have the free will to choose when I'm kind of ready to listen to my intuition and I feel like I've learned everything I needed to learn from that phase of life. It's time to move forward, to keep facing my fears, to shed an old layer of myself and a way of viewing life and living life, just like I did from age 15 to 18 to 21 to 25. And I'm ready to go to the next phase of life and what is possible. I'm going to offer truth, love, and encouragement to the people in my life who want to work with me, to face their fears, to move forward with me in that way. And some of those people aren't going to like it because they want to keep moving forward the way things have been. And I think the only reason that would maybe keep me living my life that way is because of my defensiveness, because of my fear, because of my codependency, not loving and believing in myself. And on top of that, I might have people in my life who want me to keep being more aligned with my shadowy nature, my fearful nature, my codependent nature. And I want to be in relationships with people who are encouraging me to grow and heal and mature myself, to believe in myself and believe in my dreams, not people who don't want me to do that. And so then, because you took action to want to get to the truth and to get the justice you deserve in the world, you did this work within yourself to get balance within yourself, to work through your issues. And you could have thought, that was going to be the answer for things to move forward. And then some people in your life became defensive to you because then you weren't the same person you were when you got in the relationship. They really didn't want you to do that work. And it's like, I thought you would want me to work through those things. So those things kind of didn't keep me in more shadowy energy. Well, no, I like playing that role in your life. I like you kind of being more fearful and insecure. And then you look to me to be the answer to all your problems. And it's like, and you're like, well, I never really thought you were the end-all be-all. You're a part, but high five energy represented by God is really the truth, that I listened to my intuition. And then you could have started to realize that, more when you did work within yourself, you were maybe more clearly able to see some issues that were manipulating other people that they didn't want to deal with and see the truth of. So this whole experience made you get more balance within yourself, and also to maybe listen more to your intuition. And that's something we have to learn in our life too, where before we maybe didn't listen to our intuition that much, and oh, well, this seems good and that seems good and I want to do that and I want to do that. And even if our intuition was telling us, I don't think you should do that, I don't think this is a good idea, I don't think you're on the same page, it's like, oh no, I'm sure they'll change. And then it gets to be, I'm done trying to change people. I'm going to stand up for my truth. They're standing up for their truth. And the people in my life who work together with me in a just and fair way, have hope and faith and belief in themselves and in me and in love and want to work together with me in that way, in a just and fair way, and we listen to our intuition instead of more of our fear or insecurity or our pride or our ego or our lazy nature or self-indulgent nature, those are the people I'm going to keep moving forward with. I'm going to defend them and they're going to defend me. And as I move forward in this energy, other people know if I wanted to be more self-indulgent and, get in relationships or friendships or jobs more for the ego or the image or the money or the materialism, I could. And they see that I'm not doing that. And I'm listening to my intuition. And again, some of the people we meet as we move forward will be upset. Well, I think you should view me as a just and fair person, and you should be my friend or date me. And it's like, my intuition tells me no. And then they're mad because they want to be like the next person to indulge in a friendship or relationship with you, or be bossy and controlling of you, or manipulate your loving nature. And it's like, no, I've learned to listen to my intuition more about people. I go in the world and I treat people the way I like to be treated, see if they seem to respond in kind, and if they don't, I don't get up in my head about it, and I don't get my ego about it. I just accept that they have the free will to act the way they want. Thank you for showing me the truth of who you are, and I think I'll kind of keep my distance and focus more on the people in my life or my workplace or whatever that do work together with me more cooperatively. And yeah, the people who want to be bossy and controlling and manipulative, they don't like that. And sometimes people think loving people who aren't more manipulative and deceptive and whatever, you are there for them to manipulate. Because you're like a sucker. It's like, well, I used to be a sucker, but now I've learned not everybody wants to do love, and I see that you don't. And not everybody wants to be just and fair, and you don't. And some people are authentic, and some people are more manipulative and deceptive, and you are. And I don't get up in my head about it. I just accept you are who you are. And you're at where you're at. And I keep moving on. And I keep maintaining balance within myself. And maintaining balance within myself. And there's other people who don't like that because they put a lot of work and effort into trying to manipulate people and control people and all that. And it's like, nope, I've learned through this whole experience to listen to my intuition, and I'm standing up. You stand up for what you believe in, and you don't budge. And that's fine. You can do that. I'm standing up for my truth. And if you don't want to work together with me in a more just and fair and authentic and loving way, then I wish you peace. So what's coming up? And I think as you're moving forward in that energy, other people will see the truth of it and listen to their intuition that they want to be the people also working together with you. What's coming up for some people who harness a more worldly, shadowy Cancer energy, or they use their emotions more manipulatively and maybe more in love with themselves or these things of the world? What's coming up for them that they might not see coming? The Page of Wands. Why? Because of the Magician card. So, the Page of Wands can represent fire sign energy, where people are just still more motivated and inspired by themselves, the world, indulgence, or ego, or fear, or whatever it is. That's kind of what they're manifesting from. And then, because they have these ways of viewing the world, that's kind of their truth, and so that's what they invest their time, energy, and effort into. And it could just be that they're kind of immature and self-indulgent, and they, of course, think that's just and fair, and they think other people should indulge them being that way. For some of the people that are doing that, they could have people in their life that harness these energies in a more balanced, inspired way, but they were kind of caught up in the illusion of these people, because generally people who might be bossy or controlling or immature or egotistical or self-centered, they don't they try to present and project themselves as being a more high vibrational person so people will get in a relationship with them. And people bought into the illusion, and then people were moving forward with them, and they were putting in this work and effort to bring this dream into reality. And the other people, even though it's not their truth, were kind of still trying to create the illusion that they were that type of person because they want it benefits them in some way, but it's only maybe really more about how it benefits them. It's not about truth and love. And eventually, some of the people in their life kind of see the truth of it. They're putting in work and effort to try to manifest something that they feel is more just and fair and balanced, like take a relationship to the next level. And the other people keep repeating the old pattern. And the people in their life are going through this and kind of thinking, why would I stay in it? And I've put in a lot of work and effort and it keeps not working. And then it's like, I can either stay here sad and feel manipulated, blame them and maybe be in resentment. And again, all I can do is offer people love and encouragement, and I have to see the truth that that's not their truth, and they're not inspired to... Our truth is different. What we think is just and fair is different. What we find emotionally fulfilling is different. How we want to keep moving forward and what we want to invest our time, energy, and effort into, and what's important to us is different. The high vibe people want to be in deep, meaningful relationships. The other people might want to be in the relationship to be in the relationship. It's good for their ego and their image or their status or something, or just to be in a relationship to indulge in. But it's not really about being in a more deep, meaningful relationship and healing and growing and maturing themselves. And eventually some of the people in their life are like, I'm leaving. What you want to manifest and what I want to manifest is different. And the shadowy people could think that because I have this certain status or image in the world again, I'm sure that as you go forward, you'll maybe feel stuck. I know you love me. You have fond memories of me. I'm sure you won't give up because that's what loving people do. They just keep wanting to make that work out the way they wanted it to. I'm sure you'll be back. And as the high vibe people keep moving forward, then it could be like, hey, here I am. Hey, aren't you paying attention to me? And the other people are like, no, I'm not. I've been seeing what you have been doing, and I'm focusing on me and the people in my life and my job and my career and the things I'm trying to manifest while you're kind of working with whoever and whatever you're focused your attention on. And then they might realize too, it's like, we do have different interests. I am going to work with someone who is more motivated by what I am motivated by. And if you're not willing to indulge me, I'll find someone else who's willing to indulge me. If you won't let me manipulate you or be bossy and controlling of you, I'll go find someone else who I think I can be bossy and controlling of. And eventually they might end up in a relationship with someone who's more like themselves, who is still more motivated and inspired by themselves or in the world or these things they want to indulge in that they think will make them happy or makes them look like they're living the dream. And that would be a just and fair relationship. What's unjust and unfair is someone who knows they're not motivated by love and they don't want to heal and grow and mature themselves, who just wanted to kind of cheat the justice system by kind of like the devil being in a relationship with someone who's not shadowy. That's an injustice. And you stood up for justice and said no more. And if they want to be in that type of relationship, they're going to have to go find someone else to manipulate and create their illusion about who they are with. And if some of those people are doing that again in another relationship, the same thing could happen again until they get in a relationship with someone who is more on the same page as them. And that could be someone who it's like, we're kind of more about a worldly justice, not about healing and growing and maturing ourselves and operating from truth and love. It's more the illusion of love. And so long as it looks good by worldly standards and it looks like we got justice in the world, I'm going to keep staying in it. They'll probably keep staying in it. Because that is our truth, and they could think that's what everybody does. Like, everybody is more motivated to be in a relationship, that you get along well enough to have a certain status and image in the world, and you have sex with them. What more is there? That's like shadowy Scorpio energy. High vibe Scorpio. I want a deep, meaningful relationship. Love is what makes it all worthwhile. I want to be in a career that I love. I don't want to be in a career where it might look like I have justice in the world, but every day it's like, oh my God, I hate this job. I want to be in a job and friendships and relationships with people that I love and that I enjoy, where there's balance in my life, where it's not so tipped out of balance that it's all about me, or it's all about them, or it's all about the ego, or the image, or the money. When is enough enough? And we see that having a balance, Libra, represented by the scales of justice, when is enough enough? And for some people, enough is never enough. I want more attention. I want to be more bossy and controlling. I want it more about me. Or I want to indulge in these things that I think make me look like I'm the boss, or I want enough more money and status and power, social clout. For them, it's like an addiction, because that's what they look to be the answer. And as long as they think that's the answer, it does, the devil's, all these things that kind of get a stranglehold on us, it will keep manipulating them. And for some, they keep indulging their more immature, self-indulgent, lazy nature, unwilling to be a good disciplinarian to themselves. And if they can find other people for whatever reasons, those people are willing to indulge them. They might have these things of the world that it looks like they have justice in the world, stability or security. The conformity card kind of reminds me of Taurus energy. The building card is Virgo energy, 2 earth sign energies of putting in work and effort to have these things of the world, but then they want to be immature emotionally and operating maybe more from their ego nature, whether they're male or female, but emotionally they're lazy and they indulge themselves in their immature ways of being. And they might have status, image, social clout, attractive, whatever, and they think people should indulge them for some reason. And if they can find someone who's willing to do that, then that is a just and fair relationship, if they are both on the same page. It's just some high vibe people realized, that's not my truth, and I'm going to have hope and faith and belief in my dreams to stand up for what I believe in, and invest my time, energy, and effort into people who I think are more on the same page as me. And I have hope and faith and belief that the divine wants me to manifest my dreams into reality. And every day I'm not in this is a good day. It frees me up to focus on things that are aligned with my truth. And with this kind of being reflecting, and this could be friends and family members or romantic interests, but it could be spending time just reconciling yourself with these issues to get over the fact that people we did want to have work together with us didn't. And to quit feeling stuck about it and come to a place of a peace about it. And then we're ready to have that new beginning and to move forward, listening to our intuition as we move forward. And I think as you do that, you're going to get justice in the world, because you are who you say you are. The other people are kind of creating an illusion about who they are. And they'll manifest the illusion of that. And you'll have the real deal. So there you go, Cancer. I wish you peace, love, and joy, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.